20 years, we've been doing webinars or webcasts or whatever we used to call them, online meetings back in the day. So I think it depends from a planning perspective on if you're planning a 1 hour, 30-minute, webinar where you're doing training or you're demoing a product or it's thought leadership versus some of the things that have happened in the last few years where we've had to go virtual and we wanted to have more sessions and breakouts and things like that. So all of them require still a lot of planning, pre-planning. So, I mean, I think one of the things that Chelsea and I were kind of going back and forth on before this was the just being prepared and organized and getting your group together early. I don't really think it matters in person or not. You need to take the time to plan, and making sure that your group understands that just because this meeting is online is not any less important than if they were standing in front of somebody. So, part of the things that I have said is making sure, I mean, obviously topic and things like that are always extremely important, and making sure whatever you've got is engaging and that you're inviting the right audience, but also that you've also invited the right person to present. So
yeah.
Critical.
It really is. And I think we underestimate someone who may know a product really well may not always be the best person to present it. And definitely on everything, I found everyone has just gotten a little slacker during the last 2 years, but super important that this is the new way of meeting people is virtual. So you have to have your best foot forward all the time. And
I think the marketers only make that mistake once, right?
Yeah, well, that's very true.
Yeah. You're like, okay, that's just not that's not their strength. Yeah. But sometimes it's hard. Like there are organizations, depending on how large your organization is, where you are limited. So I think we have done and gotten our people training before, like yeah,
no, dry runs are key if it's a really big event, just to kind of get them used to it too. And because it's so easy in the virtual world just to click off if you're not into it. So no, definitely good points. Chelsea, what about you? Do you have any other points you want to add?
Yeah, Danielle kicked it off on a really good start. Like we talked about, prep is essential. And I think one part that people tend to forget about is what's the post-event prep that you're working on, because you can get really hung up in getting slides together, getting speakers prep, abstracts, titles, social posts, you got to do everything up front, but don't forget about the back end. You don't want to be wrapping up your event and then going, okay, what are we doing now? Who's doing follow-up? What are we doing? Make sure you have those mechanisms in place and discussed with either your subject matter experts or your sales team or whoever's working on the event with you. Make sure we have talking points, takeaways, kind of prep that team with the follow-ups they need so that they can just go directly after it at the back end of the event. So I think that's a really critical element, because obviously we're hosting these events for a reason. There's some action or some next step we want these people to take with us. Maybe that's a meeting, maybe that's attending another event or meeting for lunch, whatever it is. Just make sure you have an idea of what that is before you start the event.
Honestly, best tip. I think we've all made that mistake at one point or another where we front load everything and then, so we sent an email after, like, no, there has to be other steps in there. And I think takeaways and talking points is so essential that we don't think about, and it's too late.